Hello and welcome to Is This the Norm? Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Thank you so much in advance. I'm Laura.
And I'm Rebecca.
And this is Heather. And today I'm going to be telling you about a company called PG&E, which is Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Most Californians are very aware of this company and are not a fan. So what is PG&E? Well, they are, or where are they? They're headquartered in San Francisco, incorporated in 1905. They provide, or it provides, natural gas and electrical services. It is one of the largest utility companies in the U.S., and it serves over 16 million people across Northern and Southern California. And over the past decade, allegedly, this is, tooting its own horn, PG&E has played a pivotal role in addressing the state's escalating wildfire crisis, often grappling with the repercussions of equipment-related ignitions. In response, the company has initiated transformative programs such as its undergrounding program, aiming to reduce wildfire risk and improve the safety and reliability of its electric grid. Through innovative technologies and adaptive strategies, it strives to balance public safety, environmental preservation, and cost efficiency while navigating complex regulatory and operational landscapes. Sounds pretty amazing, like, oh, they care. And anybody who just heard me say that paragraph that's from California and knows anything about their past over the last at least 15 years is when most of their, what I call killing of Californians, started to happen. So what's the truth, right? So the first big one that most people may be aware about is what happened in 2010. It's pretty devastating. So what happened in 2010 was an explosion of a pipe, a natural gas pipe, that pretty much took out a whole neighborhood. And the pictures are devastating. So you think, okay, a fire, an explosion, what did that look like? These houses were diminished to ash. The picture, if you look at the overhead picture, all you see is these little squares of where the house used to be, and it's just ash. Not rubble, ash. I don't know how else to explain it. You have to look up the picture. So in 2010, what happened? Well, PG&E, what they have is they have something where they manage the gas transmission in these pipelines that are underground through something called a supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA, and it's a control center. So what these stations are supposed to do for PG&E's transmission of gases in these lines is to provide data, including what the pressure is of these pipes, the flow, and the valve positions to these SCADA operators. So these operators monitor the data, watch for anomalies, dispatch technicians, and coordinate maintenance work as needed. So if you don't want these things to get overpressurized, because what happens? They can explode. And that's very dangerous. Natural gas is very flammable. So on September 9th, 2010, PG&E technicians were dispatched to the Milpitas, I think is how you say it, terminal to replace electronic systems as part of an upgrade to the station's power supplies. So to accomplish the upgrade, the technicians needed to remove power. And then after doing so, they encountered an unexpected power loss at a local control panel. So PG&E did not have a plan for this contingency. So they lost power, and they just cut power without trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do in the meantime? So instead of re-energizing the circuit, the technicians tried to reroute power from an alternate source. But their attempts caused erratic output voltages to send an erroneous low pressure signal to the regulating valve controllers. So this affected the valve position sensors, which it triggered over 60 alarms to SCADA. So the alarms prompted SCADA operators to inform the Milpitas technicians that SCADA's readings indicated an abnormally high pressure at the Milpitas terminal. The technicians confirmed that the erratic voltages had sent an erroneous low pressure signal to the regulator valves, causing them to open fully. So it's kind of like this automatic thing that happens, even in the event of this erroneous signal. So to make matters worse, the regulatory valves could no longer be controlled because of the power loss. So outgoing pressure was now solely controlled by monitor valves, a last line of defense against overpressure. The monitor valves were set to prevent outgoing pressure from exceeding something called PSIG, which anything exceeding 386. SCADA, however, informed Milpitas that their consoles indicated a pressure of nearly 500 PSIG on downstream pipelines. So at 5:52 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the operator asked the Milpitas technicians to place a pressure gauge on the line where they were at due to a lag in the monitor valve response time. The resulting reading showed an outgoing pressure of 396 PSIG. A valve below the line was at 400 PSIG, but well above the 375 PSIG that was okay. At 6:02 p.m., a SCADA operator called another PG&E monitoring facility and said, "We've got a major problem at Milpitas and we've overpressured the whole peninsula." Not good. So what happened? Shortly after 6:02 p.m., an explosion and fire happened, and multiple calls started coming in at about 6:11 p.m. I mean, a lot of calls. So you have this huge explosion that just takes out a neighborhood. Firefighters could not even enter the area because the fire was roaring so much because the gas was still flowing out of the pipeline. They hadn't shut the gas off. So it's like, just imagine this huge pipe, and I'll get to how big it was, and you'll really understand like how terrible this explosion was. It wasn't until 7:30 p.m., so an hour 20 minutes after this explosion, and this pipe just feeding natural gas and it's just going, finally had a technician manually turn off the valve feeding the pipe. This was a good thing, right? PG&E did what they were supposed to do. No. So while SCADA is like trying to figure out how to take care of this and identify the rupture site, an off-duty PG&E hero technician who was qualified to manually close the mainline valves saw the media reports of the fire. He proceeded to the area where his truck and tools were located, and a second qualified technician joined him there. Using only visual cues he obtained from watching media reports, the two technicians determined the location of the rupture. At 7:06 p.m., they reported their plans to isolate the rupture to a supervisor and proceeded to the nearest shutoff valve. The two mechanics manually closed the mainline valve finally at 7:30 p.m. 12 minutes later, this is 91 minutes after the rupture, so just straight up burn. The fire's intensity decreased enough to allow firefighters to approach to the rupture site and initiate containment. Fires in the area continued raging 2 days after the initial blast. The gas explosion killed 8 and injured 58, affecting 108 homes, and left behind a 72-foot long by 26-foot long wide crater. Like, it's huge if you look at and it was like the pictures I saw afterwards was like, it looks like a lake because it's filled with water from trying to get these fires. Like I said, they were just pulverized. These houses were pulverized. So
this is my worst nightmare. This is why I don't have gas. Literally, like, this is what I imagine happening, because this was in a residential neighborhood, right, Heather?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very residential.
I literally hate gas because, well, we didn't grow up with gas in our, where we lived. So maybe it's because I didn't grow up with it, but every house that I've lived in since then that has had gas, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. And I'm going to tell you more about PG&E, and like, they're just kind of like nonchalant, lackadaisy, like, we're just going to do this, going to do that. And
I'm looking at the photos on Google. Holy moly. Yeah. Devastating.
It's like, I can't explain it.
There's like a road just completely concaved in. And it just looks like gray destruction.
Yeah, the only way I can explain it is like if you were to take a torch and like you did like a small scale, like you made your own little scale of the homes and just took a torch to it, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
So what's the real issue here? I mean, because like I just told you, if this technician wasn't watching the news, thank goodness he was like, oh my God, I got to go take care of this, because PG&E and its SCADA monitoring, they were just like chicken littles. What do we do? The sky is falling. They were getting nothing done. So what was the real issue? What caused this pipe to explode? We obviously know that there's a pressure issue. What else was going on? Well, what else was going on was bad welding on this pipe. It was the subpar welding that contributed to this pipe getting so overly pressurized that it exploded, right? The pipe was what happened with this pipe is that it was actually relocated in 1956, and the welded seam on the pipe, where there was an integrity issue upon moving it in 1956, would have been visible upon inspection. So this could have been prevented. They could have noticed when they're moving this pipe, look at this weld, it's not good. What if it gets overpressurized? We need to make sure the integrity is good. So fail. And these pipes are huge. So the ruptured segment of the pipe, when it was discovered, this is 100 feet away from the crater, this pipe that exploded. The pipe that caused the explosion was 28 feet long and weighed approximately 3,000 pounds. So it's huge. So you've got to think that, have this weld that's problematic. And you got, and I would say like the pipes across, I didn't get that measurement. But to me, it looks like it's like 3 or 4 feet, maybe more across. I mean, that's a huge pipe. And so when these things explode, I mean, it's just full-blown gas going everywhere. So although a more rapid emergency response on PG&E's part would not have prevented the catastrophe, the effects on the fire would have been significantly reduced had they not had a delay between identifying the incident and then turning off the valve. So they had a slow response, which allowed the continuous leaking of gas to feed these flames. If an off-duty technician had not acted on the media reports, the 90 minutes between the rupture and the gas shutoff might have been even, maybe hours, who knows, because they just weren't taking care of it. Luckily, this guy took the initiative. If PG&E had formulated a plan for controlling the regulator valves during a power loss at Milpitas, the tragic events at San Bruno, so this is where it happened with San Bruno, probably would not have occurred that day. So the right thing what PG&E should do is be like, you know what? We messed up. This is terrible. We got to fix this. Damage is done, but how can we, get a good investigation, figure out where things wrong, and let's fix this so it doesn't happen again. Oh, no. We know how corporations are, right? So they cover it up. So what they did is they erased digital video recording made during the incident at its Brentwood control room. PG&E destroyed potentially relevant information in violation of pretty much a commission resolution, making them, preserve any evidence. They were specifically ordered to preserve any potential evidence. And then after that, they destroyed this video. Investigators also found that PG&E deliberately misclassified its aging, high-risk pipeline so the company would not have to subject themselves to expensive testing and safety assessments. During the federal probe by the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, PG&E withheld and falsified documents regarding its policies. Specifically, the utility company covered up its internal practice of bypassing costly safety tests, such as high-pressure water testing, and instead relied on cheaper, less accurate methods. So what happened? I think, they're going to put the hammer down, and that's exactly what happened. So in 2010, PG&E was convicted of 6 federal felonies, including obstruction of the investigation stemming from the 2010 San Bruno gas explosion. Again, the explosion killed 8 people, and due to this conviction, the company was placed on probation until 2022, paid a $3 million fine, and was sentenced to 10,000 hours of community service. I didn't really look into how that's done in a corporation. I'm assuming they were required to do some type of community service by sending its own people to do whatever that looked like.
I didn't even know
So I
that
didn't
was
really
a
get into that.
thing, that
What's
you
that?
could do community service to a corporation. That's awesome. Like, get some labor work because, they just throw money around, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So what that looked like, I don't know. I didn't get into the details of that, but I'm assuming it's something where they had to go do maybe some of this wildfire progression type stuff to get things from not happening again, or making sure they have, safety plans in place maybe for these communities that are receiving electricity and or natural gas. I don't know. So you think, okay, PG&E, you messed up. Hopefully you learned your lesson and, this good thing would go on. Well, it wasn't until 2017 that they started serving time on probation, and as a convicted felon, they're going to give $208,000 to Gavin Newsom's run for governor. So, of course, he wins in November of 2018. 3 days later, the Camp Fire fire started, destroying the town of Paradise in California and nearby communities. I'm sure if you guys look that up, it's very familiar to you. I feel like a lot of things that happened before COVID kind of got overshadowed once COVID hit, but these fires were huge. The fire resulted in the death of 85 people. It was determined that PG&E left a hook hanging for nearly 100 years until it broke. So the power line dropped and then sparked the fire. So you have these power lines up, they're not underground. And that was the whole point of them supposedly starting this process of putting lines underground versus above ground, because winds and stuff like that knock them over. Well, even with winds, it was because they did not take care of their lines that were above ground. So 7 months before the 2018 Camp Fire destroyed the town of Paradise, PG&E crews discovered severe wear on steel parts holding up a 72-year-old power line in the East Bay area. So after this, again, PG&E had to plead guilty to 84 felony counts of manslaughter for sparking the 2018 Camp Fire, and another felony for sparking the Camp Fire through its own criminal negligence. The company was already on probation for the 6 federal felonies we just talked about for the deadly outcome of the San Bruno gas explosion. So it was a line that was in Caribou, Palermo is where the spark started, which was even older than the line was originally identified as in PG&E's lab report. So I think they had said, oh, it's only 72-year-olds. Well, 72 years old, but to find out it was built in 1921 and the line was 97 years old when it failed. So if you look at these pictures of this, like what they called a keyhole, metallurgical wear, I'm probably saying that completely wrong. But this is something that's been known to happen where you get this wear on metals since Roman times and medieval knights were aware of this type of aging. So it's not like it was something, so scientific that somehow got missed. No, this has been around for a very, very long time. So an example of the keyholing was on these PG&E hanger plates. So if you think about it, like it's a plate where the lines go through to, you go from one pole to the next. You guys know what I'm talking about? And then of course you loop them through
Yes.
these holes, and they were keyholed. So like it's a circle and then it starts to look like a keyhole because it's wearing so much. So what happened? Okay, the most worn out hanger plate pulled off of the high tension line was worn 62% of the way through. And according to the rate of wear determined in PG&E's own policies and lab reports, the plate would have reached 30% wear in 1984. So this happened in 2018. So they should have been replacing this back in 1984. And was worn more than halfway through by 2005. So PG&E's 85-page manual for maintaining these lines was called the Bible at PG&E, and it said that steel parts need to be repaired immediately if they are worn at least to the halfway point. Parts that are worn at 30% are required to be corrected within 12 months. Again, these were warned 62% of the way through. They weren't even following their own policy and procedures. System failure, right? PG&E did have a report regarding these issues with the keyholing and what they were hanging from. They just ignored them. So again, not following their own policy procedures. They knew about it. Your classic corporation, it's like, it's still standing. We'll leave it, even though we have our own policies and procedures telling us we shouldn't. So in 2019, the problem continues with parts on a high tension power lines are blamed for sparking the Kincaid fire. It burned more than 100 homes in wine country. No one died, but it was close. Firefighters were injured trying to save people. PG&E is fighting multiple felonies and misdemeanor charges regarding that fire. This is kind of just the timeline. 2020, they plead guilty to the 84 counts of what happened in the campfire through criminally reckless behavior. 3 months after the court proceedings for the campfire, the Zog fire broke out when a tree hit a PG&E power line in Shasta County. 4 people died, including an 8-year-old Fayla McLeod and her mother, both of whom burned to death running for their lives in a pickup truck.
That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
Why is PG&E not getting shut down? Shut them
Because
down. How many people do they have to kill?
Well, they serve 16 million. It's like if you shut them down, somebody has to come in and take over, right?
Do that.
I mean, that's the thing.
Do
they have
that.
a monopoly.
Where are the morals in this story? There's none anywhere. Do that.
I know. It's pretty terrible.
I'm mad.
I mean,
I'm like tearing up, thinking, I'm just envisioning my little 8-year-old girl running for her life and not making it. That's horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, it was considered an active homicide investigations, and prosecutors announced that they were going to file charges against PG&E and possibly officials who worked there, like charging others with murder. The judge that managed the probation already found PG&E committed safety violations when PG&E's contractors marked an unsafe tree. So this is this Zog fire. They marked an unsafe tree leaning over the power line, but no one ever followed up to cut it down. So it fell and killed people.
I mean, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but okay, so I would assume the majority of us have seen Erin Brockovich, and that was PG&E that they sued for that whole poisoning the water system in that community. And then you were talking about, all these fires that they caused. Like there's a few more before the 2018 that I found. I don't know if it was, maybe they weren't directly linked, but they think they were. Yeah. And just how many times is this one corporation going to be allowed to just kill massive amounts of people and get away with it?
Ruin people's lives. I don't know. I mean, that's why I want people to get mad about this, because, I mean, no matter how many times they criminally charge, they're still making money. I mean, there's, probably, hand over fist money. And that's the problem, is like, no matter how much regulations we have, it just keeps happening. And yeah, I haven't ended the story yet. I mean, you guys are getting mad. Well, there's more to come.
Oh, yeah. Keep going. Hurry up. Get it over with.
So in 2021, PG&E's legal obligation to find and cut trees threatening power lines is again under investigation for the Dixie Fire, which is still raging through the communities at the time, since igniting in July 13. So like the fire's going and they're still like, coming after PG&E, like, you got to take care of stuff. The fire started for, I think it was the Dixie one, where a tree fell on a PG&E power line just a short distance up a canyon from where the campfire one ignited. So like, that's the problem, is all these lines have degradation or trees they should be cutting down. And it's like, it's kind of like a game of telephone with fire. Like, we're going to have a fire here. We're going to have a fire here. We're going to have a fire here. And it just kind of goes down the line. So for investigators, isn't whether PG&E sparked the Dixie Fire, but whether PG&E is criminally responsible. So they know they did it. It has something to do with their stuff. But how are they responsible? I mean, they're not cutting down trees. They're not taking care of the keyholing. In this question hinged on, should PG&E have found the tree and cut it before it fell? yeah, I mean, any trees that are around your power lines, they have a responsibility to watch out for this. I know that there's regulations of, power companies like that making sure that, hey, there's a tree line about a tree around a power line, make sure that you go check, is this a tree that needs to come down? Because if it's already, about to fall, I mean, I know that I see that happening where we live because we have big windstorms here too that cause power lines to fall. So yeah, I mean, if you mark something as dangerous, the next day they should be cutting it down, and that's not what they were doing. So recently, in December of 2025, in the Bay Area in California, a home exploded where PG&E workers were working in front of a home on a leak that was going on for 2 hours. So they knew the leak was there. They didn't evacuate. They didn't tell the people that were in the home where the leak was coming from, like, hey, you need to get out till we fix this. This is super dangerous. The owner actually came out, and the workers did not even tell him why they were working on a gas line from his home. Nothing. They didn't tell neighbors. Allegedly, they said they told neighbors. He then walks back into his home and his house explodes. So the fire department did know about this leak. They came, and PG&E told the fire department, nah, you don't need to be here. Go on your way. So PG&E, of course, what do? To deflect blame of themselves and say, like, oh, we did notify neighbors. Like, what about the person's house you were working on? Did you notify them? Nope. Somehow no one died. If you look up this video of this house exploding, I'm not sure how nobody died. But of course, there was serious injuries, medical bills, people's severe burns and multiple injuries. So their lives are never going to be the same. They did sue PG&E recently for what happened to them in their home. So that, more to come on that, I'm sure. But I mean, what more do you need to know other than they're working on a gas line that's leaking and they didn't tell anybody, and then sent away the fire department.
Oh my gosh, I just watched the video. Whoa. Look up I can't, there's no words. It literally is smithereens. The guy walked into that house and then it exploded, and he didn't die.
Nope.
That can't be real.
I'm sure he's like, I don't know the extent of his injuries. I'm sure they're severe because there's 3 people in the home, I believe. Him and then 2 others.
It literally is like a bomb, and shreds, little tiny shreds of house just go flying up into a dome shape. Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, like, if there's any gas lines that are being worked on, like, they tell you right away, and they tell you, like, okay, we might have to have you leave the premises. Because I know it happened one time at our office. And, even I was kind of like, oh, they're working on a gas line and we're still in here. Like, it kind of made us nervous. But at least they notified us. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. Just let you know. But, they were working on it. It wasn't like it was actively leaking. Like, this pipe was actively leaking. They're trying to fix it. Fire department came, and then they shoot him away. So, I mean, in essence, I think that the fire department should have said, no, we're staying here.
So my question is, looking at that video, what could have the fire department done? After,
probably not much.
Put the fire out. Obviously, right. I'm sure they're coming right back, but like
medical services
prior
too.
To the explosion, I don't have words. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out about more system failures of PG&E with that explosion. I'm sure there's, like, if you have a leaking pipeline, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that would be like, we need to evacuate until we get this line fixed.
Why wasn't the gas shut off at the house? I mean, such a simple, like, you would think that would be the very first thing they do. Go shut the gas off to that house. What?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know the system failures on this one. I didn't look into it real deep because I was trying to keep it to the 2010 and where that really, I mean, if you ask anybody from California, because I know that we had this discussion at a CLE of mine, which is continuing legal education, of just a little short snippet about this case, the 2010 one in particular, and I do employment law, so they were talking, doing focus groups about where PG&E was, discriminatory or retaliatory, which I think whistleblowing is what they call it. So I'm sure somebody at PG&E came forward about safety concerns. They got fired, blah, blah, blah. So when every time they do a focus group with Californians about PG&E, they already hate them. Like they're already way behind the line. Like nobody trusts PG&E in California. So, and they have every right to. I don't trust them either. I'm so glad they're not in Washington.
If there was ever a case of the government needing to step in and take over, at least in a temporary manner until they can get some responsible people in charge of that company, this would be the one. But we're a capitalist society, so I don't think there's even a mechanism for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna keep paying. I mean, if they can, switch, or if they can just pay money to keep going and that costs them less money to pay out than fix the problems, I guess that's what we'll do. I just don't know how cutting down trees and replacing old, worn, rusted parts is more expensive than paying out on lawsuits. I doubt
No
it.
way. No way. Yeah, and unfortunately, they're a utility. So who's paying for this? The people they jacked up the rates to pay for all of these mess ups.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be doing that because that's BS. When that is tort reform at its best. People being like, "Oh, if the company has to pay out in lawsuits, that's going to raise our utility bill." No, the company can afford to pay out the lawsuits without having to raise your bill.
Well,
That's
they've
just an
claimed
excuse.
bankruptcy. They've claimed
Yes.
bankruptcies multiple times.
Yes, they have. And
It's a mess.
Jerry Brown was the governor of California. His company also funded his campaign,
Yep.
and he
Mhm.
bailed them out before Gavin Newsom. And they learned that this worked, so they also funded Gavin Newsom's bill,
Wow.
and he bailed them out. And so therein lies the problem. Like I said prior, zero morals. Classic politician. Zero morals.
Mhm.
I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. You can't trust them further than you throw them. Yes, just murdering people. Sleep well at night, politicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
So angry right
Yep.
now. I want to just bomb an F right now.
Mhm. Yeah. That's why, like, when I text you guys about like, "Oh, I want people to know about this." And I'm sure any Californian that listens to this will be like, "Oh yeah, we've known for years." And I mean, there's so much. Like there's so much on PG&E. Like you said, Rebecca, the movie, what was it, Aaron Brockovich, like it goes back forever and ever. I mean, it's PG&E, and then there's what's the one with the Forever Plastics?
DuPont.
Yeah, DuPont. I mean, all of them. Johnson & Johnson with the talc cancer causing, to women. I think it's ovarian.
Yeah, money.
So
Always money.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I really had. I mean, there's a lot more. I probably could do a podcast for 3 hours about PG&E and all their criminal, but it's just hard because I just really hope a little bit more research. These individuals they named in these lawsuits, like I want the individuals like lab technicians or whomever that knew about this and were part of not pushing to make it, I mean, I'm sure it's scary. It's kind of hard because you're like, okay, I can see this happening in a workplace because I am an employment law, attorney for individual rights in the workplace where I'm sure they're paying these lab people or whomever doing these studies a lot of money. And then, if they go to the CEO or whomever and they're like, make a decision not to make the fix. And then they're part of the cover up at the same time. It's like if they would have whistle blew, maybe went to an outside organization saying, "Hey, we found this and PG&E is not doing what we found as needing a fix." He's going to get fired or, lose his job or whatever. So I'm not saying like money should never be a reason you don't come forward about safety concerns ever. Be the person that has to come forward. Be righteous, do the right thing. Yes, it's true. No good deed goes unpunished, but I can tell you every client I've ever had, they have that guilt where they're like, "Oh, I wish if I could go back, I wouldn't have said anything," just because of all the emotional aspects of being the person that stands up for what's right. But whatever you do, do stand up for what's right and find that attorney that will protect you. And we're out there. Trust us. Trust me. There's tons of us out there that will stand up for your rights if you come forward and save lives because of safety concerns. Anyways,
Yeah,
that's my soapbox.
that's a beautiful takeaway, Heather. Truly. It's hard to be in that position. It's scary. You get criticized, laughed
Mhm.
at, fired, lose your livelihood. These people have families that work for this company. It's a
Yeah.
huge corporate company that's paying governors to cover up for them. You're right.
Mhm.
It is like it's easy to feel compassion for them, and it's hard to be brave.
Yeah. It is so hard to do the right thing, which makes me mad. And that's why I continue to do what I do. And the defense attorneys, they work for the devil. I'm sorry. I mean, like there's some defense attorneys I joke about. I'm like, so how's the devil doing? They work for the dark side. That's how I feel. Like, I don't know how you defend these companies. And, people can say, oh, well, somebody's got to do it. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. And it's their insurance companies. That's the other thing is like, it's not just the corporations, but it's the insurance companies. They fight when it's, when somebody stands up and does the right thing. These employers, they lie. I mean, I have a case right now. It's discrimination case. And they're lying in their reports. Like there's a lay witness was like, that's not what I said. Because they have these telephonic interviews of people and then they write down what they supposedly said in these interviews. And I have lay witnesses being like, no, that's not what I said. They're lying. Like, just
And that's
don't
why it's
care.
scary to be brave.
It is. And my
You don't
client,
know what you're going to be contending with. You don't know how it's going to end.
yeah, my client said the same thing. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't have said anything. And I'd have to tell them that's what they want people to think. It's called the chilling effect. They want people to say, they want everybody to know at the job site, if you stand up for what's right, we're going to fire you. You just put your head down. I don't care if discrimination is happening in the workplace. You do your job and you don't make it hard for us. We don't want to hear from you and to continue doing it. So to all those brave people out there that stand up for what's right, good job. So, yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, because you might just save a life.
You might save somebody's life.
Or several. Or a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little boy.
Or a dog or a cat.
Yeah, my
care.
stomach's upset now. I think I'm going to go throw up. That's just horrible. I mean, I think the videos and the pictures, I think that's what is missing in a lot of all of this is that people just distance themselves so much from the humanity behind it that it's easy for them to just move on. And, I think that our society, like the news, they'll kind of dance around showing pictures or video. And it's like, no, this is what you show what's really happening. There has to be a connect there. There is morals and there is humanity that we're contending with here. It's wrong.
And if it's a corporation that isn't supplying something that is a necessity, we can boycott it, to show our disapproval. The Californians don't even have that option. They have to use it. That is literally where they get their power from.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. That's kind of what Heather was saying earlier when I was mad. And I was like, I don't care. Get some morals. So angry.
I feel sorry for those Californians that have had to deal with this, and they have every right to be angry.
Well,
Every right.
still dealing with it. Like, scary.
Yeah. Right.
Like, not knowing what your future holds in terms of that. Like, you could be the next one. I mean, they're still running the show here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I think being mad is warranted. And anybody that works for PG&E, if you see something wrong, you better stand up. Yeah, that's the only way you can do it. I mean, that's what we say as attorneys is the only way you can make change happen is taking them to court, because where does the buck stop? If they're not going to fix it, somebody's got to fix it, and you got to bring it to a jury and they fix it for you. Hopefully. It's amazing how much money will make people change. Like, that's why you have to have big verdicts, is because that's the only way you can make a company change, is to take money from them, because that's all they care about.
Well, it's not working in this case, because there's been huge settlements won against this company, and it hasn't really changed things, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I agree that it can't be a settlement anymore. It has to go to a jury. I mean, I didn't even know about this. why would I have known about this? But if it goes to jury and it gets publicized, I think that's the only thing that hasn't happened yet, right?
Well, it's getting publicized. I mean, the judge is doing, they're pleading guilty because, yeah, they don't want it in front of a jury. They know they're going to get the hammer if it goes in front of a jury. So they plead out. And then the other way for money, a civil suit is doing a big settlement, right? And then in California, I'm sure they have confidential settlements. I don't know what the laws there, like in Washington, when it comes to employment law cases, confidentiality clauses and like non-disparagement clauses, non-disclosure clauses are very, very limited. They're pretty much not allowed in Washington. The only thing that they can hide is the amount of money they settled for, which we can still dictate that as attorneys. I mean, we can tell an organization or company we're settling with, like, we will not do any confidentiality clauses, including the amount. So, I mean, we can dictate that. I usually try to dictate that. And then if it's a public entity, they can't have a confidentiality clause regarding the amount of money because it's subject to public records. So you can't keep that out of the residents' purview to ask for. So then you can make a headline about it, so that the community knows that somebody out there is looking out for their own good against, whatever corporation or insurance company for that matter. They're the ones that are, you can't talk about it at trial, but people know. People know who's paying out and refusing to pay out and answer for the wrong.
So just as a side note, because my brain was wandering, I looked up who the CEO of PG&E is. It's a female, Patty, I don't know how to say her last name, Poppe. It's a female, and she lives in Lafayette, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's been the CEO since 2021. When did you say the last big explosion was? Was that 2017?
No. Well, the big explosion, like the individual house, or
well, just the last
fires?
incident with PG. Like, which incident was it? It's been going on for years. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
The last incident.
The last fire was 2021.
2021.
Yeah, the last explosion with the single house was 2025, December.
Oh, okay. Under her leadership. And yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure they'll try to claim it was not preventable. I don't think so. Not going to buy that. Not going to buy what she's selling.
Yeah, give me a break. Yeah, it's always preventable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you're dealing with something that combustible. Like, come on. We all know. So yeah, that's all I really had, and this is not should not be the norm. Should not be the norm at all. The norm should be safety. Always.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you, Heather. That was really interesting.
Yeah, that was horrifying. Yes. Thank you. Because it's important to know these things, but no thanks for the stomach ache I now have.
I'm sorry.
So sad.
Yeah, I think we can all get on board that PG&E
sucks.
Yeah, I don't like PG&E at all.
No, they're on my hate list.
Like in the words of Gru from Despicable Me, I hate that guy. Don't like him.
Don't like him. All right. Well, until next time. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.